Welcome to The Deep Dive. We're the place where we really dig into stories, the kind that stick with you, maybe even shake up how you view things fundamentally.
You know those ones that provoke a strong reaction? Often because they force you to look inward a bit.
Exactly. And today we're tackling one that definitely fits that bill. We're diving into the core ideas and of the really complex characters in Ayn Rand's novel, The Fountainhead.
Yeah, we've got some fantastic excerpts here that really capture the essence of it. It's quite a piece of work.
So our mission today is simple. Pull out the key insights, the big takeaways from these sources. Think of it as, well, a shortcut to understanding this intense clash between individualism and conformity.
Right, and between ambition and compromise, and, the surprising things that kind of bubble up when those forces collide.
And Rand sets up this central conflict right away, doesn't she? This essential division.
She really does. It's stark. On one side, you have those dedicated to the exaltation of men's self-esteem and the sacredness of his happiness on earth. Pretty clear.
And on the other,
the ones determined not to allow either to become possible. And then there's the majority, caught in the middle, struggling, as she puts it, not to allow the issue to be named.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a heavy framing right from the start. It's not just about buildings, is it?
Not at all. It's about, well, the architecture of the soul, you could say.
Okay, that tees up our first character perfectly.
Yeah.
Howard Roark, the embodiment of that uncompromising vision.
Absolutely. From day one, he just doesn't fit. In architecture school, he quietly refuses to follow the rules, the expected forms.
And that famous scene with the dean about the Parthenon.
Oh, yeah. Roark points to it and asks, "Shall I tell you what's rotten about it?" And the dean is just baffled. It's the Parthenon.
It perfectly shows Roark challenging, well, everything accepted, everything traditional. He doesn't care about reverence for its own sake.
And he's completely indifferent socially. The text says he had not made or sought a single friend, refused to join a fraternity. His focus is just absolute. It's all internal.
That kind of detachment seems almost necessary for what he does, right? To have that clear internal compass.
I think so. And you see where some of that steel comes from when you look at his mentor, Henry Cameron.
Ah, Cameron. Enough that internal validation. And you see it when he explains his design to Heller.
Right. Every piece of it is there because the house needs it, and for no other reason. Your house is made by its own needs. Those others are made by the need to impress.
That's not just architecture. That's a whole philosophy of life right there. Are you
Yeah.
building based on need, on truth, or just to impress?
And that brings us neatly to the contrast. Peter Keating. He's all about the path of, well, expediency, getting ahead.
The ultimate contrast to Roark. Keating is driven by what others think, by climbing the social ladder.
Yep. Even his early ambition is just about beating other students, like Schlinker. But then on graduation day, despite all the accolades, he feels this blank hole, doubt.
That blank hole says so much. There's nothing solid underneath the surface success.
And his choices are shaped by external pressures, like his mother. Even when Roark gives him advice.
What was the advice again?
Roark tells him, basically, take your choice of the lesser evil. If you really want to learn, go work for Cameron. It will prepare you for going on your own. But Keating doesn't really absorb the spirit of it.
Right, he twists it. And you see that when he joins Francon and Hire.
Oh, totally. He sees Guy Francom's fancy office and figures out pretty quick that the real game isn't design, it's networking. It's done beyond its walls.
So he focuses on
Schmoozing. Well-chosen thoughts on the responsibility of realtors to society, a few bright little slogans, image management.
and it works, at least on the surface. He gets recognition.
Yeah, pleases clients, gets mistaken for Francon's partner, even wins this big award for a skyscraper.
But
But we find out another's hands had actually fixed his sketches. It's hinted that he's constantly compromising, maybe even stealing ideas. His success is built on sand.
a career built on borrowed vision. Okay, so that leads us into probably the most complex and maybe disturbing character, Ellsworth M. Toohey.
Ah, Toohey, the ideologue, the manipulator. His background is revealing.
Humble origins, right?
Yeah. Yes, and this odd dynamic where his mother adored him because he was sickly, while his healthier sister Helen was seen as more deserving of love that it seemed just to deny it to her.
That's warped. Like virtue is found in weakness.
It seems to have shaped him. He becomes this gentler, quieter, milder person who starts talking about the masses.
And his book, Sermons in Stone, becomes huge.
Massively popular. It makes architecture seem simple, accessible in the terms of the man in the street. Gives people the feeling they understand it all.
But what's the real message?
That greatness isn't individual. A great building is not the private invention of some genius. It is merely a condensation of the spirit of a people. He dismisses modern architecture, Roark's kind of architecture, as just the whim of isolated individuals.
He's actively working to dismantle the idea of individual genius, isn't he?
Systematically. And his philosophy of selflessness is extreme.
How so?
He literally argues to mortify the soul is the only act of virtue. Give up your soul even to a lie. Yes, if others believe it. To deceit. Yes, if others need it.
Whoa, that's chilling.
And he even calls personal love a great evil, an act of injustice. For Toohey, the highest good is sacrificing the self entirely to the collective, no matter the cost to truth or integrity.
It's a complete inversion of, well, most ethical thinking.
Yeah.
How does he make this appealing? How does he manipulate people?
He's brilliant at it. He picks people for his Council of American Builders who fitted well together, creates this false feeling of brotherhood where mediocrity feels comfortable, where there's no necessity for being sainted or noble.
He lowers the bar.
Exactly. He plays, as the text says, the stock market of the spirit and sells short. You see how calculating he is when he assesses Catherine, Keating's fiancée, calling her innocent and sweet and pretty and anemic. It's like he's sizing her up for usefulness.
That predatory quality, it's disturbing. Which brings us to Dominique Françon. She's sort of the opposite of Toohey in some ways, isn't she? Hyper-aware, intelligent, but so conflicted.
Definitely. A paradox. She's a critic, writes these merciless, brilliant accounts of slums, showing real insight. But she rejects the idea of a career, just wants to do things until I get bored with it.
It's like she's rebelling against definition, against mediocrity itself.
Or maybe against a world she finds unworthy. And her relationship with Roark is, wow, a battlefield.
She tries to destroy him publicly, and calls him the Marquis de Sade of architecture.
Yes, but at the same time, she kind of promotes him in this weird, backhanded way.
Yeah.
And her marriages to Keating, then Wynand, they feel like self-flagellation.
Like she's punishing herself for admiring Roark.
Perhaps. Or maybe it's a twisted form of loyalty. Remember that line where she tells Keating she wants to be avenged for the fact that I have nothing to be avenged for?
Yeah, that speaks volumes about her internal war. Like, the world doesn't offer her anything substantial enough to fight against, except maybe herself or Roark's greatness.
It's incredibly complex. And she, uniquely, sees right through Toohey. She tells him straight up, you can talk very briefly and to the point when you want to.
She calls him out.
And she recognizes that Toohey ignoring Roark in print is a tactic, saying it's what I've done against Mr. Roark so far. She sees the parallel between his manipulation and her own destructive impulses.
So, standing somewhat apart, yet deeply entangled, is Gail Wynand, the powerful newspaper tycoon.
Wynand adds a whole other dimension. He seems like Roark's opposite, a manipulator of the masses, power-hungry.
A self-made man from Hell's Kitchen. Understood public opinion, how to shape it.
Yeah.
Built his empire, the Gazette, ruthlessly.
Right. He knew how to let people think his mockery targeted whatever they disliked. Masterful control.
But then there's the secret, the hidden part of him.
Exactly. That private art gallery, filled according to his standards, not public taste, and his judgment. That of a master. It reveals this core of integrity he keeps locked away.
A private self that clashes with his public one.
Completely. And that private self recognizes something profound in Roark. He hires Roark for his private home, asks specifically for the Roark quality.
And he has that moment of insight, asking Roark, you've never built anything for yourself before because you've been unhappy.
It's a stunning moment of connection. And he tells Roark, I love you so much that nothing can matter to me. Not even you. Not you, but I. The ability to desire like that. It's like Roark embodies the pure desire Wynand himself compromised.
A recognition of a shared fundamental value, even if Wynand didn't live by it publicly.
And this leads to the Wynand building. He calls it a monument to my life, his legacy. He tells Roark it's the best gift I could offer to the man who means most to me on earth.
It's Wynand trying to build something true. Finally. Through Roark.
A symbol of the integrity he admired but couldn't fully live, which makes the final confrontation even more poignant.
The Cortlandt Homes project. This is where it all comes to a head.
Roark agrees to design it, lets Keating put his name on it, but on one condition.
It has to be built exactly as I designed it, no changes.
He knows it's a long shot, says it will be very terribly difficult. He's testing the world, maybe one last time.
And, predictably, betrayal. The design gets altered. compromised.
Fundamentally changed by others, which leads Roark to, well, dynamite the whole thing, a drastic, shocking act.
But Dominique understands it, doesn't she?
Instantly. She calls it my Cortland explosion. She feels freed by it, tells Roark, now I'm not afraid. My darling, do you see why I'm happy and why I'm free? She sees it as an act of pure integrity.
Necessary destruction to prevent a corrupted creation, which leads to the trial.
And it's not just a trial about dynamiting a building, it's a trial of ideas, of philosophies.
Public opinion is whipped up, with Toohey leading the charge, calling Roark's defense outrageous sacrilege.
Winan tries to fight back with his newspapers, tells his staff, this is not going to be a trial by facts, it's a trial by public opinion, let's make it sell Roark.
He tries to use his power for good for Roark, but
even Winan's massive influence can't stand against the collectivist tide Toohey unleashes.
So it comes down to Roark's own defense. His courtroom speech.
Which is basically Rand laying out her entire philosophy. It's incredibly direct. No man can live for another. He cannot share his spirit just as he cannot share his body.
He tackles altruism head-on.
Completely rejects the conventional definitions. Says, egotism was held to mean the sacrifice of others to self. Altruism, the sacrifice of self to others. And he argues this ties people together in pain, leaving no room for genuine selfhood.
That's radical. He's flipping morality on its head,
Right.
claiming selfishness, in his definition, as the highest virtue.
He argues it's the creators, the supposed egotists, who actually move humanity forward. The creator denied, opposed, persecuted, exploited, went on, moved forward, and carried all humanity along on his energy.
So sacrificing the creator for the group isn't noble. It's actually destructive to progress.
That's his argument, and he frames his act of dynamiting Cortland as my act of loyalty to every creator who ever lived and was made to suffer.
And he names names. Cameron, Mallory.
And subtly, Winand. A man who doesn't want to be named, but who is sitting in this courtroom and knows that I'm speaking of him. Acknowledging that shared spark even in Winand's compromised state.
So what happens after this massive speech, this philosophical bomb?
Well, the consequences hit Winand hard. His employees strike. Toohey effectively takes over his newspaper, the Banner. Winand is crushed.
That line. I had no right to hope for escape. I am a man of the 20th century and I became a bit of tin in the pavements. Utter despair.
The tragedy of achieving worldly success at the cost of his soul. It's heartbreaking, really.
But Roark's response to him is interesting. No simple forgiveness.
No, Roark writes essentially forgiveness isn't the issue between us, but then he asks Winand, if you can't forgive yourself, will you let me do it?
Wow. That's an invitation back to self-worth, isn't it? Even after total failure.
Exactly. It suggests that self-forgiveness, that internal integrity, is the only real way back. It's quite profound.
And Roark himself, what's his triumph?
It's quiet. He's acquitted. His resort, Monadnock Valley, succeeds, attracting people who needed something different, fulfilling an unrecognized need.
The people who get it.
Right. And Winand ultimately acknowledges that the Winand building, despite everything, will always truly belong to Roark. Its integrity is Roark's.
And Dominique.
She finally marries Roark. It's presented as a true union, an acceptance of her own nature aligned with his. She tells him, now we stand together against all of them. My darling, do you see why I'm happy and why I'm free?
Her internal war is over. She's chosen her side.
Mm-hmm. And Roark just continues doing what he does. Building, finding joy in the act itself. I love doing it. Every building is like a person, single and unrepeatable.
The final image of Winand watching him. He belongs in an unfinished building. It captures Roark's essence, the eternal creator.
It really does. And that pretty much wraps up our dive into these excerpts from the Fountainhead. We've touched on these big ideas, individualism, integrity, conformity, manipulation, through these unforgettable characters.
It definitely leaves you thinking. So for you listening, which character's journey, which path struck the biggest chord with you?
Yeah, or maybe which warnings about, social pressure or the pull towards compromise feel most relevant in your own life, when you feel that tension between your own vision and what others expect.
Given these huge choices they all faced, Roark, Keating, Toohey, Dominique, Winand, do we really grasp the full cost of compromise? Or I guess the sheer strength it takes to stay true to yourself?
And maybe in today's world with so much noise, what does integrity truly mean? Not just in our work, but in who we choose to be. Something to chew on.